Good day, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps YouTube live on May 5th. It's my brother's birthday. Welcome to Helps YouTube Live. Good to have you here. My name's Eric Olsen, an attorney for 46 years, founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors and disabled who owe debt they can't afford to pay. And I hope this mic works too. I don't have a mic. I'm using the mic on the computer. We're getting a new mic but probably don't need one. So it should work fine. What Helps is a national law firm that helps seniors that owe debt they can't afford to pay. And how do we do that? There's a federal law passed in 1978 that provides if you're represented by an attorney, collectors can't call you anymore. And that's what we do. We represent seniors and disabled persons who owe debt in order to stop collectors from harassing them. When they enroll in Helps, they give us the creditors they owe money to. We send a cease and desist letter, and the communication stops, and peace comes back to your life. Now, you might say, well, what about, could I lose my income? No. Social Security is protected, has been since its inception in 1935. And then there's federal and state laws that protect your pension, your disability, your VA benefits. Your income is safe and protected for your needs. It doesn't need to be used to pay debt you can't afford to pay. But unfortunately, this information isn't given to seniors a whole lot. And so I'm going to show you something. Before I started today, I got on Google and I typed in, let's see, what did I type in here? Help for elderly with debt they can't afford to pay. Now, look what I found here. There we go. So you've heard of artificial intelligence. Well, now a lot of websites or a lot of search engines will have artificial intelligence. So this is Google's website on this topic, help for elderly with debt they can't afford to pay. This illustrates how seniors aren't given correct information. And the reason they aren't given correct information, artificial intelligence, it's artificial. They get their information from other sources on the internet and other websites, okay? And there's a concerted effort by collection companies and people that help people that owe debt, supposedly, to hide this information from seniors. They don't want seniors to know that their Social Security, their pension, their disability is protected, and that there's ways that creditor harassment can be stopped. And if they never talk about that, then artificial intelligence doesn't learn that. So look at what it says here. If an elderly person is struggling with debt they can't afford to pay, they should seek help from a nonprofit credit counseling agency to explore options like debt management plans. Okay. If you contact a debt management plan, and there'll be people that are listening to me right now will say amen, and they've been involved in that. A debt management plan, with very rare exceptions, will never tell you, by the way, you really don't need our help because your Social Security is protected, so is your pension. You can use this money for your food and medicine. You don't need to pay this debt. And by the way, you can also be protected from collector harassment. If they told you that, you wouldn't sign up with them and they wouldn't make money. Because, a quarter to a third of their clients are seniors. And that would cut out a huge chunk of their business if they told you the truth. So they don't do it, okay? And another reason they don't do it is they're supported financially by the credit card industry. The nonprofit ones especially get donations, and they have prearranged agreements with the credit card companies. If they collect money, they get to keep a certain percentage as a donation. They get it at the very beginning. You pay $200, maybe they get $30 or $40 out of that as a donation to them every time you make a payment. Are they going to tell you that? Probably not. Okay, definitely not. Okay, which can involve consolidating debts and negotiating lower interest rate creditors, potentially making payments more manageable. So nowhere does it say. Now let's go on to see key steps. Contact a credit counseling agency. One that isn't going to tell you the complete truth. Review government assistance programs. There really isn't any government assistance programs for people that would consider a reverse mortgage. you know, yeah. Um, Yeah, a reverse mortgage could be a good idea, but to get a reverse mortgage and access some cash to use to pay your debt probably isn't a very good idea. You know, the money equity you have in your home, you know, that you're going to need that to support yourself as you age. We're living longer and longer. Once you access that money and pay old debt off, it's gone. That money is gone. It's history. Okay? And so you don't need to use it to pay old debt. Now, the people that helps primarily are modest income or lower income or poor seniors. You know, seniors that have a lot of money, this isn't an issue for them. But for seniors that are struggling, this is a big deal. And you need to preserve your assets. Okay? So a reverse mortgage could be for some people, but using the money to pay debt probably isn't a good idea. Okay. So let's see, what else do we got here? Explore options with AARP. Well, I've never seen articles of AARP that are really any good in this area. Consult an elder law attorney to understand legal protections and potential options for managing debt, including bankruptcy if necessary. Well, elder law attorneys, they usually don't deal with debt issues. That's not what they do. They help people. They help seniors who have money. Elder law attorneys, you know, they need to support their families, and so they have to charge a fee. And so seniors that are poor or lower income can't afford an elder law attorney. And these attorneys don't understand these debt issues. You know, Helps does. You know, I've been an attorney for 46 years, and the other attorneys that work at Helps have been attorneys working with seniors that owe debt for many, many decades. So we know what the law is, and you know, we know what happens in the real world. So. Important consideration, be square of scam, sure, create a budget, nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But what does this artificial intelligence overview, what does it leave out? So what does it leave out? It leaves out the fact, by the way, if you're a senior with debt problems, can't afford your debt, you can stop paying the debt because no one can take your Social Security, no one can take your pension, no one can take your disability. It's protected by federal and state laws. And it doesn't tell you can stop the collector harassment by sending what's called a cease and desist letter. Okay. It doesn't talk about Helps and what we do. Okay. How, you know, if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors have to leave you alone. Okay. It doesn't talk about, you know, even if you're sued and they get a judgment, your judgment proof, they can't collect from you. Instead, this artificial intelligence steers you to contact a debt management company. And the reason it does that, it's not because artificial intelligence is evil in and of itself. It's based on what they can find in the internet. Okay? And if no one else talks about your protections, it's not going to be an artificial intelligence. So that's my spiel on artificial intelligence. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat feature. I'll try to address them. And if I don't address them, or if you have more questions, you can always call Helps. And we got lots of paralegals and we got attorneys that are talking to people right now to be able to help you with your problem and give you the legal information you need. Okay? I'm not complaining, but in order to file my 1099-C and do a Form 92 after I file my taxes already, it's going to cost, well, I don't think you need to do it, probably. I mean, if your income is minimal, you know, first off, if your only income is Social Security, you don't need to file taxes. And you can have Social Security and, you know, maybe $12,000, $14,000 more in income and still not be required to file taxes. I don't see the IRS following up on 1099-Cs that much, you know, for our clients, because, you know, if the IRS gets that Form 1099-C, the computer system can show, hey, this person we got this for, this is the IRS machine talking to itself. Their only income is Social Security, maybe a little bit of pension. Even if they end up owing a little bit in tax, which wouldn't be a whole lot, They could get on currently not collectible status. So, I mean, you could always choose to file it later if you were asked to by the IRS, but you probably never would be. I received a letter from a debt collection company offering me help from them. Not sure why I'm getting that. No need to respond to them either. Yeah. Yeah. When I was doing bankruptcy, we always had a big problem with seniors that were getting 1099-Cs. They would go to a tax preparer. Tax preparer would never tell them that they probably didn't need to. Well, they could file it, but they wouldn't have to pay taxes. We talked to so many seniors or clients that were ending up paying taxes on 1099-Cs when they didn't need to. See, there's a form 982, and one of the boxes is, I think it's 1C, is you check it off, and if you're insolvent, which means your debt exceeds your assets, then there's no tax. But anyway. Okay. So we got things to talk about today. And I guess the topic today, I got on this tangent about artificial intelligence, but the topic today is seniors with debt you can't pay. You'll be okay. And if you've been listening to me a while, you understand why you're going to be okay. It may seem like you're not going to be okay. It may seem like there's a lot of pressure on you. It may seem like these creditors calling that they could take something from you. No, it's not going to happen. Like I explained at the beginning, your Social Security is protected. So is your pension. So is your disability. So is your VA benefit. Any form of retirement, IRA, 401k are protected. Annuities are protected under state laws, almost always. I've never, in 46 years of practice, I've never seen anyone lose an annuity. And then there's a federal law passed in 2012 that provides, actually it's a federal rule that tells banks that if they got a writ of garnishment, if someone sued you and got a judgment and they got a writ of garnishment on your bank account, your bank examines your bank account. And if they see that you got a federal benefit like Social Security, they times that times 2, twice you get each month, is automatically protected from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. Okay? I've yet to meet a bank manager that understands that rule, but the department in the bank that does garnishments, they understand the rule. Okay? And I would guess that 999 out of 1,000 attorneys still don't understand that rule, just because they don't deal in this area. And so they might rely on the information they learned years ago or decades ago in law school that says if you commingle funds, then they can get at the money. So if you had Social Security in there and you put other monies in there, they could get the whole amount, which isn't the case. Okay? So if you got $1,500 in Social Security, twice that would be $3,000, and your bank account would be protected automatically from garnishment, even if you had money in there that came from some other source. So that's why if you don't pay the debt, you'll be okay, and you're judgment proof. Well, you worry, are they going to take my home? It's almost every state has exemption laws that protect an amount of equity in certain types of property, including a home, a car, household goods. But it's simply not the practice of consumer judgment creditors, if they get a judgment, to try to go after your property, even if you happen to have equity in it over and above the exemption for the state where you live. It's just too complicated and expensive for them to do it, and it can be stopped in different ways. So they simply don't do it. So you're going to be okay. And that's my message, which we talk about a lot. Why you're going to be okay. When you enroll in HELPS, you are our client, not just one time, literally forever. Okay. So that means if you get a new collection notice a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you let us know. We're going to send a cease and desist letter out to that debt collector so they leave you alone. If you get sued even years in the future, you let us know. You get us a copy of the lawsuit. We're going to send a cease and desist. We're going to send a letter to the attorney, let them know that your income is protected. We're going to call you on the phone, explain why it's protected, send you some emails that link to articles and videos from helps explaining why it's protected. So you don't need to worry. Okay? You don't need to worry. Okay. And then if you got questions, put them in the chat feature. I'll try to address them. I should be able to. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Kathy says, the last time I filed taxes with H&R Block after I paid them $130, then the lady told me, you don't really need to file taxes, and you told me that I don't make enough. Well, that's right. I see that happen all the time. In Florida, my wife was present at the closing of her home, but I've been told she's not on the title. With anticipated judgments, I'm concerned about her ability to sell the home after my passing. Okay, in Florida, if you get a judgment, it can become a lien. But the law in Florida provides that you can file a form with the court, and a copy is served on the judgment holder. And if this is your home, virtually any amount of equity in it, with few exceptions, if it's a farm or big property, but if it's a normal house on a lot, and this form the court will order that the lien be released, and it allows you 6 months to sell the home. Now, if you don't sell it in 6 months, you can file that form again and get another 6 months. So you can sell the home in Florida and get a lien released. Your wife can too in the future, if there is one. Now, if you own the home with a spouse and the judgment was just against one of the spouses and that spouse passes away, then the property automatically goes to the other spouse. And if the judgment was against the spouse that passed away, then that lien goes away. It disappears. So the surviving spouse can easily sell the home. There's no lien to worry about. So in most states, there's a proceeding to get a lien removed. Okay, if there's a problem. It depends on the facts in the state. Yeah, I would suspect most tax preparers would be willing to tell someone that they don't need to file tax returns. Okay, but there's enough that I talk to enough people that file tax returns when they don't need to, that I know that there's a problem in this area. Okay. Okay, here's one that contacted us, both in their young 70s, and they earned a little bit over $3,000 together. Don't have a breakdown on which one owes how much, but they had $10,000 in a savings account. Now they're down to $5, and they can't keep up with the interest payments on their credit cards. We went over what Helps does. We read what we do. We answered their questions. And they're going to stop making a direct payment to Discover card. They don't need to do that anymore. We've sent them a bunch of emails. And looks like they enrolled in Helps. They don't need to worry. But what's the point? It said here they had $10,000 in a savings account, and they spent that money down to pay debt when they didn't know. So sometimes I talk to seniors, maybe they have a little retirement income, an IRA or 401k, and they use that money, or in this case savings, they use that money to pay debt, and all it does is pay the interest. And the amount of debt is so big that the amount of that little extra savings they have, or that retirement fund, that IRA or 401k, it's dissipated paying old debt. And then when it's gone, it's gone. It can't be replaced. So, if you find yourself in a position where you have debt, and you've got a little bit of savings or extra retirement income, you might want to think twice about using that retirement income to keep up with that debt. I know there's pressure psychologically to do that. But once that money's gone, by paying the interest on that debt, you're still going to owe a lot of debt. But then your little nest egg, the safety that safety zone you had of that extra income is gone. Okay. So that's why we tell people, don't do that. Maybe look at this issue and make a decision sooner than later instead of waiting to the very end. Okay. Then when that 401k or IRA is gone and it's been used to pay old debt, it can't be used to help you as you get older to supplement your income. Okay. So this person contacts us and they say, I am on Social Security. My husband has applied for Social Security disability. My husband was in an accident, and that's why he signed up for disability. We have credit cards we have not been able to pay, and we are receiving calls and letters constantly. I would like to look at the information packet to see if this would help us. So when people call helps, you can look at our YouTube videos. We got videos on specific topics, or you could spend hours on our webpage with articles on different stuff. And we offer to send people an information packet. I talked about this yesterday or the day before. Information packet's only a few pages. You can learn more about helps on the internet than anywhere else. But I would tell this person that, hey, if you owe this debt, you could stop paying it immediately. And, when you talk to us, we'll explain why your income is safe and protected and why you don't need to worry. And then when you enroll in helps, we enroll you over the phone. Okay. There's never any pressure to enroll in helps. The fee to enroll in helps, maybe 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 clients get it for free. Those that pay a very minimal amount. Okay. Very minimal. We don't have any complaints about that. And we make it work for people. Okay. So when they sign up, they give us the creditors they owe money to or the debt collectors, and we send them a cease and desist letter. So these debt collectors have to leave you alone. That federal law passed in 1978 provides that if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send demand letters anymore. And so that's what helps does. So this person contacted us from Illinois. I'm on Social Security disability and have around $10,000 in debt. I was considering bankruptcy, but was given this website to look at, the Helps website. I think it would be a great option for me as I can't afford the bankruptcy lawyer fees. I would love more information about this service. I filed probably 30, 40,000 bankruptcies before I started Helps in 2012. I got tired of talking to seniors. They come into my office for bankruptcy, and I had a big, large bankruptcy firm that's still in existence. Big. And we always told seniors, you don't need to file bankruptcy. Your income's protected. Okay. They can't do anything to you. But I knew when they went home, creditors could still call them on the phone. And so Helps was brought to pass to use this Fair Debt Collection Practices Act if you're represented by an attorney. So the collectors would have to communicate with the attorney, not you. And that way seniors that couldn't afford a bankruptcy, who didn't need to file bankruptcy, could be protected from collector harassment. And so that's what we're going to tell this person. They probably don't need a bankruptcy. And like they say, I can't afford the bankruptcy fees. There's not that many seniors that really need to file bankruptcy. Very few. Okay? I'm 76 years old with a lot of debt I can't afford to pay. This is another one. This person, let's see. From Iowa. I live on Social Security income and have no property. I don't want to file bankruptcy, but I'd like to avoid debt collectors. What are my options? Well, you're listening to them right now. When sometimes seniors will call and I'll tell them you got 3 options. I'll explain to them, why your income is protected and why your assets are safe. Okay. And even if you got sued, they can't do anything to you except call you on the phone, harass you, intimidate you, scare you. Okay. One option is to do nothing, but a lot of seniors, they don't have to, they're scared about doing nothing. I said, second option is bankruptcy. Well, they don't want to file bankruptcy. You can't afford to file bankruptcy, especially if they realize they don't need to file bankruptcy. But if they don't file bankruptcy, creditors can continue to harass them. So what's the third option? Third option is helps, where we represent you ongoing so you don't have to deal with debt collectors. Okay? You give us the creditors you owe money to, we send a cease and desist letter out to that debt collector, and they're going to leave you alone. Here's another one. A person from Florida contacted us yesterday or today on disability and being sued currently for credit card debt. Need assistance. So, you know, if you're a senior and you're being sued, okay, what happens with helps is when one of our clients is sued or someone calls us on the phone and they're being sued, you know, we'll explain to them why their income is protected, why they don't need to worry about the lawsuit, and why if they owe the money, they don't need to contest the lawsuit. Okay, and if they eventually get a judgment, you know, we explain how their bank account is protected and how their income is protected, why they don't need to worry. And we explain when a person enrolls in helps, you get us a copy of that lawsuit. We don't need everything, just the first 3 or 4 pages. And then we're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you, letting them know that your income is protected. You can't afford to pay the debt. We understand they're going to get a judgment against you. And we remind them of the protected nature of your bank account. Although we don't really need to do that. It's protected by your bank automatically. But we figured that would make it less likely they would choose to try to garnish your bank account, because seniors could get scared if that happens. But you don't need to worry. Your bank is going to protect that money, twice the amount of your federal benefit. So they say they need assistance. That's what we're going to do. We're going to help them so they don't have to deal with these creditors anymore. And they don't have to worry about a lawsuit. Okay. So this person contacts us. I need your help, please. Unsure if I should file bankruptcy. I'm around $15,000 in credit card debt. I haven't paid my bills for over a year, over 6 months. I live solely on Social Security and own nothing. I live with a family who takes care of me. I was recently diagnosed with whatever, and they're gonna have to have help the rest of their life. And the medication is very expensive. It's paid by Medicare and Medicaid. And they're worried about, well, how long is it going to last for? Medicaid's going to cover you forever if you're on Medicaid. I'm currently being treated in a clinic weekly. I need help. Please contact me at your convenience. Yeah, if we haven't already, we're going to contact this person and we're going to tell them no one can take your Social Security. You don't need to worry about the $15,000 you owe in credit card debt. They can't take it from you. Just keep the balance in your bank account less than twice the amount of Social Security you get each month. Now, if you happen to have more than that in there, it's still protected, not automatically. A challenge to garnishment or claim of exemption could be filed with the court to get the excess released. But when they enroll in helps, you're going to give us those creditors you owe money to. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter, and they're going to leave you alone. They could sue you, but it's, probably less likely. I would say, generally, I would say it's more likely they would not sue you. They get a letter from helps explaining that your income and Social Security is protected, you're judgment proof. It's kind of a waste of time for them to sue. Sometimes they still do it. I don't know why. I think maybe they count on a senior not understanding their rights. And so a lot of these collection companies are set up on automatic, okay? Maybe they're set up on artificial intelligence. They just say, we're just going to sue no matter what. And they figure, well, they don't have to tell a senior that their income's protected. They try to count on a senior not knowing their rights and being scared by something that they're sent. And so if they pick up the phone and call them, they're going to try to manipulate them or scare them into making a payment on the debt when the senior really doesn't need to do that. Okay? Okay, let me back up here. Melody says, Discover is suing me for an unpaid credit card debt. I'm disabled, single mom in Illinois, and mine is the only name on my house. 100,000 in equity. Will they force? No. They're not going to force you to sell your home. Different states have different exemptions. You can call us. We'll go over this with you. Sometimes when our clients have equities in a home over and above the exemption, maybe they're married, and maybe the lawsuit is only against one of the couples, and maybe the lawsuit against the husband, and he's older than the wife. And then we'll explain, if the husband's more likely to pass away, when he passes away, if there's a judgment against him, that disappears. The property automatically transfers to the wife. Now, if you're a single person in a lot of states, you might consider adding someone's name to the title before there's a judgment. Maybe one of the kids. You're not going to give it to the child, but you could add them to the title as a joint owner with survivorship rights. That means that if someone got a judgment after that, I'm sure the judgment could be a lien on the property, but if you die, you're going to die before your child is. When you pass away, the property would transfer to your child, and the judgment lien would disappear, so they would get the equity out of the home. Okay? So it depends on the state and depends on the facts, but no, they're not going to take your home. And I know that. Okay? Now, an attorney or someone could say, well, they could take your home. Well, it's theoretically possible if you have equity over and above the homestead for a creditor to file a writ of execution to try to take the home. But I filed 30, 40,000 bankruptcies. I never saw it done. I've been doing with helps for the last 14 years. Tens of thousands of clients. It's not done. Okay, and if there was an attempt, there's ways that it could be stopped. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay. I'm on Social Security. I make a little under $24,000. Do I have to file income taxes? If you have $24,000 in income other than the Social Security, then yeah, you're probably going to need to file income taxes. But if Social Security is your only income, then no. It used to be before inflation that you could make like $12,000 plus Social Security. I mean, you can get on the IRS website. Do I need to file tax returns? My income is Social Security. You can just Google that, and it's going to give you the complete details, better than what I can do here. At 75, wouldn't I just be better off to file bankruptcy on my debts? Ann asked. Oh my gosh. That would be very unusual. I remember when I was doing bankruptcies, and we're doing, thousands of them. I'd go to a bankruptcy hearing. Whenever I would see an attorney sitting in the bankruptcy hearing with an elderly couple or someone that was a senior in their 70s or 80s, even sometimes, and I'd hear the case and I'd say to myself, why in the world did that attorney advise that person to file bankruptcy? They had no need to file bankruptcy. Absolutely none. I mean, they could do it, but it was just kind of like they didn't need to do it. Okay? We've got lots of videos on our YouTube page that talk about bankruptcy versus helps. We have a detailed email with links to articles and videos from helps that talk about bankruptcy versus helps that you can look at. Okay? So Taylor says they cannot attach a lien to the home in Florida if it's under a certain size lot and it's in your residence. I'm not sure that's the case. I think the lien attaches if they get a judgment against you, but if it's a judgment in the county where your property is located. But you can get the lien removed by filing a paperwork with the court. It gives you 6 months to sell it, like I explained. Okay. But then in certain states, the lien doesn't even attach. For California, for example, if you file paper, it's called a homestead paper, and if your home is worth under a certain amount, it's a minimum of $600,000, $700,000 in many counties. That means if someone sues you, gets a judgment, the lien doesn't attach. You can sell the home and get all the money out of it, okay? The equity. Do we need to respond to the summons if received? Or no, if you're a member of HELPS, all we need is the first few pages. Sometimes clients will call, I got 20 pages on this lawsuit. We don't need that. We need first three or four pages. The case number, the court, and then the attorney's name and address. And then we're going to send a letter to that attorney, letting him know that your income is protected. You can't afford to pay it. We understand they're going to get a judgment. And do you need to respond to the summons? No. Sometimes the summons might have a date and time for you to respond, but if you read it carefully, that's only if you're going to fight the lawsuit. If you're not going to fight it, then you don't need to do that. Got it? You don't need to do that. Now, if you don't owe the money or you want to contest it, you can certainly do that. That's up to you, but most of our clients don't want to have to deal with the problem. Yeah. So I answered Ann's question about at 75, would it be better to file bankruptcy? And the answer is explained just a few minutes ago, or why probably not necessary. Okay, good question. Monica says, what about judgments and liens in community states? Well, okay, a judgment, when someone sues you, they sue a particular person. They usually sue a husband and a wife, or just a husband or just a wife. And it's not the practice of, now what does it mean, community states? They're talking about a community property state. There's at least 7 states in the United States are what's called community property states, which means if you have an asset, it's only in your name, the law deems that you own that with your spouse. You own it together. And same thing with the debt. If you have a debt in your name, your spouse is deemed to owe that with you. Okay? And that's good. That's good. Can be good in different reasons and bad in other reasons. But 7 states have community property states. And I read sometimes on websites or on the internet, they say, well, okay, my husband passed away and he had this credit card debt in his name only. Are they going to come after me? And some web people answering the question say, yeah, you live in a community property state, they're going to come after you. Not the case. It's not the practice of credit card debt, consumer credit card debt like that, like a Visa card, MasterCard. It's not their practice, even in community property states, to sue the spouse who didn't sign for the credit card. They don't do it. Now, theoretically, I think they could, but it's just not their practice to do it. So if they sued and got a judgment, if the judgment against your spouse that passed away or that you divorced from or whatever in a community property state, that judgment is only against that person that you either divorced or that passed away, not against you. They would have to sue both of you for that to be a debt that you would have to be an issue with. I think that answers your question, Monica. So Rockabilly talks about this Gold Star card. I'm assuming this is some type of debt you owe to the military for some reason. Okay. I'm not familiar with it, or I know about it and forgot about it. Okay. but I'm sure, but what you're telling me, it's a military debt. It could be so there was a law passed in 1996 that gave the federal government an ability to collect money for what's called other agency debt. Okay. So, for example, if you owed money to this Small Business Administration, Rural Development Commission, the VA, maybe even a debt to a military facility for some reason, it told them that they could offset 15% of your Social Security without even having to sue you and get a judgment. Okay. And so what could happen sometimes is if you don't pay that debt and you're on Social Security, they could send a form to the Social Security Administration directly and saying, this is a federal debt. You need to offset 15% of the person's Social Security to pay this debt. And that happens not very often. One example I give is when I first really learned of this years ago, when HELPS was pretty new, a lady called and she had had a Small Business Administration debt 40 years before. Her husband now passed away and she got on Social Security, and all of a sudden she got a notice that 15% of her Social Security was going to be garnished or taken from her to pay this debt from 40 years ago that they never even sued her on. And her income wasn't a whole lot, and 15% was quite a bit. And so they can do that. Okay, and that's one reason where we might tell a senior, yeah, you could consider filing bankruptcy in that reason. You could file bankruptcy, wipe out that debt, then they can't offset money from your Social Security. Doesn't happen very often that happens, but it does happen. Okay, a lot of times I'll tell people, well, you can enroll in HELPS. There's a potential for this being a problem. It's probably unlikely, but if it were to happen, we may be steering you toward bankruptcy at that point. Now, if you make under a certain amount of income, then they can't do it, and it's about $750. But if you had $900 in Social Security, they could take out 15% of that. That law needs to be changed, because if you owe taxes, you can get on currently not collectible status and not have to pay it and have $2,500 in income and be single, or $3,500 and be a couple. Or if student loans, you can get on an income-based repayment plan and not have to pay it. But for these other agency debts, that law doesn't come into effect. That rule, there's no. So, Congress needs to change that law. As HELPS gets bigger, we're going to get involved in more in legislation. Hopefully, we could do something about that. But okay, yeah, press the like button. Yeah, enroll in subscribe to our channel. You can also make a comment on the, down below. All that helps the logarithms, hopefully I pronounced that right, so that when people ask these questions that are seniors, they're going to find these YouTube videos and they're going to get these answers they need. Remember what I said at the beginning? How artificial intelligence never bothers to tell a senior that their income is safe and protected and they don't have to pay the debt. Instead, they steer them towards debt management because there's a concerted effort by debt collectors and these debt management companies, even the nonprofit ones, with few exceptions, to keep people away from this very basic fact, to keep seniors away from the basic fact that your income is protected and safe. Sad. Okay. This person contacted us from Texas. Got a summons over a defaulted private loan. Now I'm thinking it maybe is a student loan, but it could be any kind of loan. Has Social Security and no other income. Selling his home and no other assets. Has old credit card debt that he's defaulted on. And he enrolled in HELPS. Yeah, he lives in Texas. His home is protected. Nothing to worry about. So this person contacted us from Florida, age 67, They only get $1,100 in Social Security and $200 in self-employment income. They first contacted us back in November. And they say because of their spouse lost his job, they used their credit cards to live on. And now they're unable to pay. They're only living on Social Security and no savings, investments. And they moved overseas to try to save money because it was cheaper to live. Says, I would love to connect with someone as I am about to not pay my 2 credit cards. Well, you don't need to pay them. They can't take your Social Security. Thank you. We called them back, and they contacted us throughout November, and then they contacted us back in February, just a few weeks ago. I would like to become a client of the Helps Law Firm. I have defaulted on my credit cards. I'm pretty sure I'm judgment proof from what I can see from your website. Yeah, I agree. The income's only $1,100. But I also have a couple of case numbers, and I want to give you some other information so that we can reach out to her. Want to know about our office hours. So we called her back on 25th, the 27th. See, what we'll do is when people call us, we try to call people back. That's what we want to do that, And then we connected and sent her some emails about what are rights and what we do, so she understood. And they talked to us just a couple of days ago, and it looks like yesterday they got all their answers and they enrolled in Helps. She doesn't need to worry about this anymore. Doesn't worry about her debt. Creditors, she's going to give us the creditor she owes money to. They're going to leave her alone. So the phone isn't going to ring. I'm not going to get into, Taylor, I'm not going to get into a detailed discussion about the Florida Constitution. I'm just saying a judgment is a lien on the home. It can be removed. Okay? You're right. If it's the PX, it's like a federal agency in a way. PX is. Okay. We have a lot of kids that call us about mom and dad. This one says the parents are in their 80s and they have $60,000 in credit card debt. And I think it's a son that called us. So I've been trying to get a better understanding of my 80-year-old father's financial picture since he's going through health issues, and he and my mom will not likely require, and he will most likely require long-term care soon. Basically, my parents have around $60,000 in credit card debt across 35 accounts. It's a lot. Doesn't matter if they had 100 accounts. Their income's going to be protected. They have a home worth about $200,000. They both receive Social Security. About $2,500 a month. Not a lot. So man, with that much in debt, all extra income's going to pay the interest. Or either that or they're buying from the cards to maintain the credit cards. I don't know what to do about this credit card debt. We can stop paying it. You don't need to pay it. My father wants to do debt settlement with he doesn't have any, okay, they're in Texas. It says here they're in Texas. They don't have any money to settle with the debt. Okay. They don't have to worry if they live in Texas. Their home is completely protected. No one can touch their home. I've spoken to some debt settlement companies, and they want to charge $400 to $500 a month for 48 months. Wow. When you talk to them, did they tell you, by the way, your mom and dad's income is completely protected, no one can touch it, so their home is safe? No, they didn't tell you that. If they had told you that, they wouldn't have a chance to sign you up as a client. That's why I say these companies are essentially frauds when it comes to seniors. They withhold the most critical part of information seniors need to know, that their income is protected. Reading on the forum and others, seems like folks just recommend to let everything go to collections and deal with the follow-up one by one. Yeah, you can do that. I don't live with them, and I'm worried that they will get hounded by collection agencies and cause more health stress. Yeah, I do have a power of attorney. I've also agreed that my father can keep 1 or 2 accounts. That's right. You know, if a person rolls and helps and you've got an account, it's a small balance or nothing is owed, you don't need to give that to us. As long as you don't have another account with that's back that same card that you want to keep, you keep that card. Okay? I'm looking for suggestions. He's totally on board to just nuke his credit, which is complete. Okay. I've seen some nonprofits. Okay. Shilling. Hoping to learn more and make some confident next steps. So we're going to call him back if we haven't already. And they gave us some more information. He has an IRA. He's got a couple cars that are worth some money, probably over the exemption for the Texas where they live, but no one's going to take the car even if they soon get a judgment. He's got an IRA with quite a bit of money in it. He doesn't need to use those IRA funds to pay these debts. That's going to be necessary for take care of them as they get older. His pension is protected. He's a veteran. Does that change anything? Not really, unless his income was under a certain amount, then there's an extra benefit he could get. He says, trying to get in touch with other lawyers too and waiting to hear back on some bankruptcy options. Bankruptcy is probably not going to be a good idea because he has some money in his savings account. That wouldn't be protected. I mean, he calls, we tell him exactly what he needs to do. Then be able to help him. Okay? Don asked, can I negotiate with banks to settle for less if I pay off? Banks normally won't do that. Maybe if they send it for collections down the road, they could. But, if a bank, you owe money to a bank you can afford and you call the bank directly, their regulations won't allow them to settle with you for a lesser amount. If you did that, everyone would be calling the bank. Saying, I can't afford it, settle for less. They're not going to do it. And I've already explained why you probably don't need to file bankruptcy. Rachel says, I'm being sued, just turned 62 this month, will be receiving my first Social Security check. Do I have to wait until then to sign up? No, you can sign up now. We sign up people all the time that are not going to get Social Security except for in the future for several months. Okay? Okay. Well, Radiance asked, a collector got a default judgment, has now been served notice to appear for a debtor's exam. My dad has both pension and Social Security income, no other assets concerning bankruptcy. A GM probably doesn't need to file bankruptcy. He possibly could. I don't know what his other assets are. You know, we've got videos on our YouTube page that talk about bankruptcy versus helps. We have, you know, your dad's Social Security is protected, so is a pension. Now, what is a debtor's exam? Okay, so if someone sues you, gets a judgment, there can be proceedings that a judgment holder can do after a judgment to try to see if they can get money from you. One of them is they could draw you into court under what's called a debtor's exam to be able to ask questions of you about your assets and your financial situation. And sometimes that's called a debtor's exam. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So what do you do? When one of our clients get a debtor's exam, and it's very rare for that to happen, we contact the attorney that filed and asked for the debtor's exam. We give them proof of our client's income and say, do you really want to have them come in? You know, they don't have anything. Okay. On rare occasions, we'll get an attorney to go in with them, but that's not necessary. Almost always not always, but almost always they'll agree to just drop it. Okay. But I almost hesitate to talk about debtor's exams because I say that word and people they get terrified and think it's going to happen to them when it isn't. Okay. So sometimes I've done, when a person had to go in, I think, you know, we contact an attorney and sometimes they just never get back to us. And so I could type out a little email, send it to the client and say, you know, read this to the attorney or the judge, you know, if you go for a debtor's exam. And it would say something like, my name is so-and-so. My only income is Social Security and a pension. I'm renting where I live. I have an old car, whatever. I don't have any ability to pay this debt, and I can't pay it. Okay? And I understand that my income is protected in my bank account, twice the amount I get each month. I don't have a savings account. I have no other assets, significant assets. Okay. Read that at the beginning, and a lot of times, or show it to the attorney before the hearing, and the attorney will say, okay. If the attorney understands that you know your rights, then they're going to back off. And that's what helps us here, to inform you of your rights so you don't have to deal with these jokers. Okay? Good. You don't want to even say that. Say it. You don't need to worry about it. I mean, we help our clients when that happens. It just doesn't happen. Okay. Well, it looks like it's been an hour. Thanks for participating today. Please press the like button. Put a question if you have other questions, you can put them in the chat, in the comment section. But if you have questions about your situation, call helps 855-435-7787. 855 helps US or helps us if you use the spelling on your phone. Helps us, helps US, helps us. 855 toll free. We'll talk to you. We'll ask you some questions. We'll go over your situation. And I promise you'll feel better. Sometimes clients call and say, I've been really scared to call you. And then after they're done talking to us, they say, I'm so relieved I finally called you guys. We don't want you to worry. You're going to have things will be okay. So I guess today is Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We'll have YouTube Live again at the same time. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless.